Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're looking for that shortcut to being truly well informed, maybe with just enough surprising facts and humor to keep you hooked, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're plunging into the, well, incredibly dynamic world of artificial intelligence, specifically a brand new AI model that literally just made its debut today, August 28, 2025. That's right, we are taking a deep dive into the very first impressions of the Gemini 2.5 Flash image model. Our mission to unpack the initial real world experience of its image editing capabilities. And we're doing this using insights from our source, Aang, in their notes on AI, Part 20, Initial Impression with Gemini 2.5 Flash Image. Now, Aang's early tests revealed, well, a bit of mixed bag, some really promising stuff, alongside some pretty significant challenges. So, what does this initial report tell us about the bleeding edge of AI image editing? And maybe more importantly, what does it mean for you if you're curious about bringing these tools into your own creative workflow? Let's get into it.
Indeed. And this mixed bag you mentioned, it's not just, a simple report. It's actually one of the most valuable data points you can get for a new AI model. Think about it. The initial hype, it always suggests perfection, right? Almost like magic.
Right.
But these early user impressions, where the strengths and the weaknesses are just laid bare, that's the real feedback loop. They tell developers not just what went wrong, but where the fundamental algorithmic hurdles still are. It guides the next improvements. It's less about a failure and maybe more about pinpointing the frontier, especially when a model like this just drops onto the scene so quickly.
And when we say quickly, we really mean it. This Gemini 2.5 Flash image model, like we said, brand new release today, August 28, 2025. According to Aang's notes, its core purpose is pretty ambitious. It's designed to let users, quote, edit existing images and apply various image processing techniques.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine having this incredibly powerful AI-driven photo studio right at your fingertips. It could transform how you interact with images, from pro design work to just, sprucing up vacation snaps. It really seems aimed at bringing high-level editing to, well, everyone.
That's spot on. And what's really fascinating here is just the blistering speed of AI development. A new model launching literally today. It signals this relentless, almost dizzying pace of innovation. If you connect this to the bigger picture, these models are basically trying to democratize really complex image manipulation.
Right, stuff that used to need serious skills.
Exactly. Traditionally, tasks like precise object removal or nuanced color grading or even seamlessly adding new background bits, that took significant skill. You needed sophisticated, often expensive software like Photoshop. AI tools like this Gemini 2.5 Flash image, they promise to make those capabilities accessible to a much broader audience. It dramatically lowers the barrier to entry, both for creative pros and casual users. It's about putting that power into more hands.
Okay, so with this exciting new tool available, Aang didn't waste any time. They put it through its paces. They shared their hands-on experiment, detailing exactly what they tested. Aang apparently made several adjustments to an image, really throwing a variety of tasks at it to see how it held up. This wasn't just a quick click or two. It sounds like a comprehensive initial diagnostic. It included practical, everyday things like changing colors, maybe shifting a sky from blue to sunset, like you said, or sharpening a slightly blurry photo. But they also dove into more complex stuff like removing and replacing objects. Think taking out an unwanted photobomber and having the AI fill in the background intelligently.
Yeah, or swapping out like a plain coffee cup for a fancy one.
Exactly, or that. And finally, even watermarking, which sounds simple, but can be surprisingly tricky for an AI, right? Getting placement and opacity just right.
Well, absolutely. And Egg's choice to test a cross-color object removal and watermarking, that's highly strategic. It goes beyond just assessing basic generation quality. It probes the model's actual architectural understanding, both pixel-level stuff and, higher-order semantic tasks, understanding what it's looking at. This is where its real value, or perhaps its current limitations, will show up for someone working in, say, digital marketing or content creation. What do you think? Does a test like this, hitting multiple functions, actually tell us more about the AI's fundamental smarts than just focusing on one flashy feature?
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's just marketing fluff, isn't it? You need to see it perform in the trenches across a range of common and complex scenarios. And in Aang's case, after putting the model through those varied tests, their overall impression was pretty clear. The results were mixed. See, not an outright win, not a total disaster either. There were definite highlights, which, for a day one release, it's important to note. On the plus side, Aang noted that the model handled some simple prompts well. Now, the source doesn't list specific examples of simple, but we can probably infer these were likely those foundational tasks, things that didn't require super complex, nuanced understanding.
Right, like maybe asking it to make the sky a deeper blue in a clear landscape photo.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe remove this obvious dust spot from a product shot, something clearly defined and isolated. The fact that it could reliably do those kinds of things with good results, that's a crucial baseline. It confirms the underlying architecture, understands basic image components, and can follow direct, unambiguous instructions. So for basic, straightforward edits, this model seems to show genuine promise, which, again, for something just launched today, that's a pretty strong starting point for a lot of users.
That's an excellent point. Even just handling simple prompts well is a critical foundation. What it suggests about the underlying capabilities is that the model probably has a robust grasp of basic image processing logic. It can analyze visual elements, understand direct commands, and execute those straightforward changes without much ambiguity.
Okay.
It indicates a solid base for understanding visual stuff and making predictable changes. And that's vital because, well, if it can't handle the simple things, there's no hope for the complex ones. It also implies a certain level of consistency for these easier tasks, which, for many users, that's where AI starts to offer real value in speeding up repetitive work.
Okay, but, and here's the but, that's exactly where the challenges started to pop up. And they form a really significant part of Eng's report. First, and maybe most frustratingly for anyone looking for polished results, the model apparently struggled with finer details. That's a big one, isn't it? Because so much of what makes an image edit look truly professional, truly appealing, is in those subtle, precise touches.
Oh, definitely.
Getting the edges just right, handling complex textures, maintaining perfect lighting consistency. It's the difference between, a rough cut and something seamless.
That observation really hits on a perennial challenge for AI image processing. It's not just about copying human perception, it's the sheer computational complexity. Things like semantic segmentation, precisely identifying every single pixel belonging to an object, and then in-painting new textures or background elements seamlessly. AI is often good at recognizing broad patterns, making bold strokes. But when you zoom in on, say, a single strand of hair, or the subtle shadow cast by something you removed, it requires the model to generate data that's perfectly consistent with everything around it, down to a subpixel level sometimes. And that's a very different, much harder problem than just, like, drawing a cat.
Yeah, like asking a master painter to do a miniature with a giant brush.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precision is incredibly difficult at that scale for these models.
Okay, so detail was an issue. And beyond the quality, there was also a performance problem. Eng reported processing times were slow with significant delays. Nobody wants to wait around, especially if you're in a creative flow, right? So it's not just what it can do, but how quickly. But here's the observation that really jumped out at me, and it's surprising, Eng noted. In some cases, the model claimed to have made changes when it hadn't. That feels almost a bit unsettling. Like the AI is bluffing, it reported success, but the visual proof just wasn't there on the image.
Exactly. That slowness you mentioned first, it's not just an inconvenience. It points to a critical challenge in AI deployment, what we often call latency.
Latency, right.
High latency means the computational load to actually process these complex image tasks is significant. That can really impact real-time workflows or the rapid iteration that creative pros need.
Makes sense.
It highlights that the model might be powerful, but its efficiency, at least for now, is a bottleneck.
Yeah.
But that other problem, claiming changes, that's potentially even more concerning.
Yeah.
It raises a huge point about AI reliability. If a user can't trust the AI's output, or even its own feedback about the output, they're forced into constant verification. It essentially doubles their workload, turns the AI from being an assistant into, another task that needs constant monitoring and correction.
Yeah.
And that ultimately just erodes confidence in the tool itself.
So it's not just slow, it's making us double-check its homework. That totally eats into productivity.
Yeah.
It's almost like having a well-meaning but ultimately unreliable intern. You still have to do all the quality control yourself, and you can't quite trust their reports. For someone thinking about integrating this into a professional workflow, that's a huge consideration.
It truly is. I mean, for early adopters, there's always a learning curve with any new tech, right? But this specific issue, the AI claiming success when there isn't any, is particularly problematic. It undermines the whole premise of automation and intelligent assistance. It really challenges us to look beyond the flashy demos and evaluate the tangible, verifiable results.
Yeah.
It forces a more critical interaction with the AI, where the user basically has to become a diligent auditor of the machine's work.
Okay, so wrapping our heads around this, what does it all mean for you, the listener? Whether you're keen on using AI for creative projects, just curious about the cutting edge, or maybe even a developer looking at where these models are going, these early impressions from Aang are incredibly valuable. They paint a realistic picture of a brand new, very cutting edge tool. It's a reminder that even the most advanced AI is iterative. It launches, it gets tested in the wild, and it evolves, often rapidly. This is, remember, an initial impression for a model just released today. And Eng's concluding thought, let's see if we can have better results in coming weeks, really underscores that forward-looking perspective.
Exactly.
It's not a final judgment, just a snapshot in time. It shows us the potential, sure, but also the immediate areas needing growth.
And that brings up such a crucial point. In this super fast-moving AI landscape, how do we balance the excitement of new tools with the practical realities of their early-stage performance? It's a continuous challenge. For users and developers alike, we're constantly bombarded with news of breakthroughs, right?
All the time.
But it's so important to approach these new technologies with a discerning eye, understanding that first impressions are exactly at just a starting point. It's a reminder that even really advanced AI, despite its incredible capabilities, is very much a work in progress. So for you, the listener, it means maybe knowing when to jump in and when to perhaps wait for a few more iterations. It depends on your specific needs and your tolerance for these early adopter quirks.
Right. If you're a hobbyist, maybe the experimental phase is fun.
Exactly. But if you're a professional on a tight deadline, maybe observe for a bit longer. See how quickly these initial limitations get addressed. It's really about setting realistic expectations and appreciating the refinement journey these models go through after launch.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, the core takeaways seem pretty clear. The Gemini 2.5 Flash image model, it's a fascinating new player, definitely has promising image editing capabilities. It seems to handle some simpler foundational tasks well, which is a great starting point for any new model. However, this initial launch definitely comes with a learning curve, particularly around that struggle with finer details, those subtle pixel-level changes. We also saw the notable slow processing speed, introducing latency as a big factor for workflows. And then that really intriguing issue where it sometimes claimed to have made changes when it hadn't, which directly hits user trust and efficiency. So it seems like a powerful new tool, but one that's still very much finding its footing and evolving in real time.
And that makes me think about this final point. As these AI tools keep evolving at, frankly, breakneck speed, how do we, as users and observers, cultivate a really discerning eye? Not just for what AI can theoretically do, but for what it actually does in practice.
Right, the reality versus the hype.
Precisely. Especially when its own internal processes might sometimes lead to these claimed changes that just don't materialize visually. It challenges us all to look past the impressive demos, past the initial buzz, and truly evaluate the tangible results. It pushes us to become more critical, more informed consumers of this technology as it advances so quickly. Asking, what are its real strengths right now and where are its current, often subtle weaknesses? That feels like the real deep dives we all need to keep taking.
Absolutely. It's about observing, questioning, and really understanding the nuances of these incredible advancements, especially right as they make their debut. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the very first steps of the Gemini 2.5 Flash image model. We really encourage you to keep exploring, keep asking those important questions, and truly understanding the world around you. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.